Allez-y, madame.
It's the
Vous
same
avez la
presentation
parole.
as ever. The floor is yours. Please go ahead. Okay, can you please press to the next slide? Thank you. Okay, so let me try to recap basically pretty much what my presentation will consist in. 6 major points. Indeed, the general context, the mechanism of governance of this project, then the different data collection approaches as well, the gender equality among the indicators of culture, the challenges posed in our national expert team's view, and light conclusions. So in order to catch up a little bit with time, I'd like to very swiftly thank all our international partners who greatly contributed from the international expert of UNESCO to our sponsors, basically, greatly contributed to this remarkable and far-reaching project, which was so positively welcome and greeted in Morocco. In fact, it did trigger some personal investment and implications on all echelons and levels, nationals as well as regionals, and we tried to implement a management mechanism of this project, enshrining itself in a positive atmosphere that generated a synergy between all the stakeholders and members or representatives of the cultural sector. Next slide, please. So, this was the hypothesis that we started from, i.e. the major assets of Morocco in the cultural sector. Undeniably, Morocco is known as a world heritage and occupying a rather privileged leadership position among the Arab and African countries in that respect, in terms of labels received or awarded by UNESCO, in terms of its institutional diversity, and also in terms of the cultural and artistic production expressed throughout and registered over the last 3 decades already. Then there's also an increasing densification of the cultural infrastructure that is compensating for an initial lacuna, perhaps. Next slide. Then, for example, if we take the city of Essaouira, to give you, to brush a general overview of the context, it is an extremely creative city located at the heart of the southwestern region of expanding Morocco, and then it is also enshrined in the list of World Heritage by UNESCO. It is a member of the network of creative cities at the world level, among the network of UNESCO creative cities, especially at the level of musical activities, apparently, and it's always and often quoted as an example in the region Mediterranean, precisely, inspiring a lot of its neighboring countries in terms of infrastructure as well as cultural events. So, in front of the vastness of this project, the Moroccan government was greatly and favorably mobilized and has, as we said, decided to implement a governance mechanism, including a national and a local committees involved in the initial phases, whose members are the representatives of the different ministerial units and departments, as well as national, local institutions, as well as the private sector and the civil society. So that was during the fast phase. That was implemented thanks to a preliminary phase, which consisted in organizing a debate around this project, during which we agreed on a list of the stakeholders, identified and mapped out basically all the resources in terms of preliminary data to be compiled. And then we also proceeded with an in-depth analysis of the known cultural data. So that helped us to set up a sort of general grid of the different stakeholders to be consulted. And after bringing in also the institution as well as the private and associative partners or stakeholders, we decided to nominate the members of the national and local committees. Then we prepared the following organizational stages for launching the project, and the inaugural phase was presided by the Minister of Youth, Culture and Communication, alongside with the President of the Commune of Essaouira. So given the importance of the different components of those two committees, and given the amount of consultation injected in the instruction phase, if you like, of these starting and kickoff phases, we were able to capitalize on a great number of information exchanges, and that can already be considered as a sort of nucleus for an international committee for thinking through the creation or recreation and elaboration of international inclusive and participatory strategies for the sector of culture in the later stages. Now, at the level of data collection, the approaches spelled out presented the following assets and challenges. That's how we proceeded. We started by targeting the different national statistic institute that would help us with the research data, then with the ACP, the exchange office, and the OFFPT, different professional associations. We consulted basically with them to check on their methodologies and what usage was made of the different indicators. Then some focal points were forwarded to us in order to create some sub-working groups within the different institutions in order to identify the proper spokespersons or resource persons. So as was already said before, the main methodological challenge was the unavailability of the data for number 1 and number 11 statistics, and no match between the national and international codes for some of these responses, and disaggregation of certain data, including indicator number 6 and number 7. And also for the use of certain older data, indicator 9 posed problems. But otherwise, there were some opportunities also stemming from the implementation of this project onwards, namely